Hello and welcome to the first Bobby Beltz podcast, the Beltcast. I haven't found a name for it yet, but this is another segment I think I was talking about on the channel that I kind of wanted to do. Of course, podcasts are very popular. Go figure. I figure an automotive podcast can be very popular because most times I listen to my podcasts, I am driving down the road doing a long road trip, and it's just background noise to keep me awake and entertained. Either way, I got plenty of topics to talk about. We're going to hit topics that necessarily don't have automotive influence. It's just something that pertains to everyone. Either everyone has had a car or has been in the car in their life and can relate. So I'll have guests on from all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds. It's going to be great. But today I am absolutely honored to bring on the show a man who is an entrepreneur who has spent the last 16 years building companies and softwares and is recognized by Forbes in their 30 under 30 class of 2020. His most recently found startup, Lunchbox, is a B-Series founded startup raising $72 million with a mission that empowers 5,000 restaurants across the U.S. and Canada with their own digital ordering apps and websites. And on top of all that, he is my lifelong best friend. I want to welcome onto the show our first guest, Andrew Boryk. Andrew, how you doing?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Robert. Yeah, this is super exciting to be the inaugural guest on your show.
I wouldn't have anybody else. You're a great person to talk to. I've seen your stage presence. Andrew's very familiar with talking in front of a crowd. Should be a walk in the park for him, talking to a computer.
No, I mean, yeah, I just really, looking at the automotive space, coming at it certainly from the perspective of an entrepreneur, but also in the business realm, but also in the technology. There's tons of really awesome technology blowing up in this space, and so yeah, just eager to lend my perspective and chat with you about it. Some really interesting topics.
Now, just for clarification, I know you don't have a major automotive background, but you have a big consumer background. You started a startup company. You know what people want. So I'm very eager to hear your perspective on just the consumer market behind automobiles. You clearly know that there is a ripple in the normal consumption of new automobiles and what's going on. We'll get into that topic later, but yeah, I'm just very eager to hear what you got to say. This is going to be a very interesting concept.
Let's jump into it.
All right, let's get into it. I just saw an article on the news the other day. It was very interesting because I'm a man who likes to keep his vehicles for a long time. Mm-hmm. But Americans are actually, on average, keeping their vehicle for about 12.6 years now, which is, from the normal consumer, they're either leasing it, getting out of their term, getting something new, or financing it and not getting it to 10 years now. So wow. It's just showing how, kind of in shambles this economy is, where it's just like, oh, no, I'm just going to keep this instead of spending X amount of dollars on a payment. I mean, a good example is my parents just got a new car, the conversion van I gave them, and it sucks because I love that thing, and it's going to be good for them, but I want one in the future for sure. They were actually looking before I decided to get them an older vehicle. Get like a Sienna, 2024 Toyota Sienna, kind of a base model, little has a little bells and whistles, but something newer, something nicer, easy for them to fit the dog and get in and out. And they were gonna put like 12 grand, 10 grand down, something crazy on a down payment. New, yeah, because they were like, let's just do it. We have the cash, and even with that, on like a 72 month or just a normal payment span, there was like $600 a month, over $600 a month. Like, wow. I'm sorry, that's like BMW prices, that's luxury prices for a monthly payment.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's an element of cars, like a lot of, people are purchasing cars for necessity and for utility and for the usefulness, but then sometimes people are purchasing cars as like, all right, this is, sometimes it's a new year, new car, new me.
Yeah. Oh no.
kind of moment people are in. People are like also like, sometimes something good happens, whatever it is, buy a car, or sometimes you just, you feel like you need to make a change up. But I think, yeah, when you take into account the economy, that is one piece of it. That's certainly what you're talking about there,
Yeah.
right? But then also you just look at it like just people aren't using their cars as much as they used to. I mean, the whole workforce and the whole work environment has completely changed over the past few years, and now the amount of people that are working from home and working remote and driving has drastically gone down. And now you have everybody like again, like I mean myself, my fiance, she has a car. We, maybe drive it like a couple times a month,
Oh,
times a
yeah.
month, once a
How many
week
miles
if
is
we're
that thing?
lucky.
It's like a 2013, 2014, right?
Yeah, it's around 10 years old. It's got like 70,000 miles on it,
Oh,
and
wow.
so
That's pretty good.
So,
I mean, that's low mileage for the normal vehicle that age. And statistically, you're only going to keep it for 2.5 more years, so you'll be fine.
yeah. So you think about how often these cars are being used. I mean, like people are going to say like, well, all right, I can't afford a house, right?
No.
And now I can't afford this new car, whatever it is. So people are going to be starting to look and say like, well, let me go put my money, my purchase, whatever I do have towards something else. And with all these rent prices going up and everything like that, I mean, it's all contributing to how much. I mean, how much of car purchases is coming from like they're saving up for a new car versus like discretionary income or versus whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like a big change in this landscape, especially over the last few years, and I don't know, it's gonna have a big effect on just like what kind of cars, like what are people looking for in a car going forward from here?
Oh, well, if my opinion can say anything, it's all the creature comforts. I mean, and me as a car guy, I can care less. Just make it reliable, make it fun, I guess, and easy to service. Like, but I ask
easy to service.
Because I'm going to be fixing it, and it would help too if you don't fix it. As a car that's easy to service and easy to repair is going to be easy to pay for. But
well, you're telling me that these aren't even easy to service anymore.
No,
like they're tucking wires everywhere.
Yeah, there's wires upon modules. We're working on a supercomputer here in a way in terms of size and where to pinpoint the problem. Because you have, and I think you're tech savvy. I know you are. But
yeah.
We have back in the day, there'd be a computer and maybe a few other separate modules that kind of didn't really talk to each other. You had a PCM, which is powertrain control module. It's the brain of the computer. You have a body control module, a chassis control module, ABS, and it was very separate and very easy to pinpoint. But now you have all these separate modules: the ABS, the body control module. You have climate control module. You have door modules, individual modules that just deal with all what goes on in your door. And they go into a gateway module, which then converts the speech of those, that's what they call it, the speech, to whatever the PCM reads. So the PCM does not talk directly to each individual one. It's like the gateway module is the mediator. So now you have multiple code and multiple speech just could be screwing everything up, and it's more complicated when you have multiple symptoms and they won't go away, and it's all contributing to one thing. So, yeah, it's not easy anymore.
That sounds like, nowadays, people are buying a car, they're looking for a car that's going to give them, all the cameras and all of the sensors, and, does it have the Apple CarPlay in it?
Android Auto.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So they're going to want to look for all this. And, the average car, this is, some of the largest, coding data. Each car has like millions and millions of lines of code baked into it.
Yeah?
And so, and so it's a very, and not even considering, just autonomous vehicles and autonomous driving and the kind of the stuff Tesla and Cruise and whatnot, right? What's baked into all of that. And so, it's like at the end of the day, it's how much of it is really a car at this point versus it being like a computer that moves places.
Well, that's exactly that'll bring me to Tesla, which a lot of car guys hate Teslas. They just don't like the electrics. They love their roaring V8s and turbocharged vehicles. And I'm on the fence about both of them. If it's up to me, I'll stick with the internal combustion engines. But I have nothing really against Tesla, other than maybe
it's a fun car.
No.
I feel like it's a toy.
That's the thing. I equate it to driving a computer because it's very controllable. It's it kind of lacks a personality, and I think that's why people don't like it, because it's direct. It's A plus B equals C all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the non-car guy can appreciate that if I put my foot down and know exactly how fast I'm going to go. And if I hit this button, the car drives itself. It's very, very straightforward, and I think that's why people like it.
Is there like I mean like I know there's like a massive like there's an aftermarket for most cars, but like I imagine just like the aftermarket for Tesla is probably just like aesthetics at that point, right? Yeah, it's like nothing.
It is
the new brakes.
No, you have to bring it to Tesla. You can't get them anywhere. I don't even think Rock Auto sells anything other than wiper blades. The only thing I've seen that you can probably service as a backyard mechanic or just someone who wants to fix up their own car is cabin air filter and wiper blades.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, it sounds like it's, I mean, there's an element of it where it's like this is supposed to be the next, generation of cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Electric and whatnot, and so it's how does it jam with the culture, right? You know what I mean? Like how is like the car culture that's built into vehicles today, whether it be old classic cars and the the new modern era of cars, like how does electric, I guess, gel with that? So it's based on what you're saying. I mean, it sounds like there's friction in the community.
Well, there's friction in the community because a lot of people just don't like electrics. They like I said, they're traditionalists. They'll keep to what they knew all along. But this car, if you ask me, it's kind of catered to the throwaway culture, where we don't fix anything, we don't rebuild anything because you can't. And I'm not too sure if there's lawsuits going on with Tesla for the right to repair. So you could look up right to repair lawsuits. But John Deere is actually getting big flack for this because they have automated. I don't know if it's tilling. I'm too familiar with farm work, but they have. So if you're picking crops, you're going in like a pattern, right? And you could GPS your route and how you're going to pick it and what's going on with all the attachments, and just pretty much press a button. It's like Tesla for farm work. You press that button and you just sit in the cab and monitor. And it sounds cool. You probably bump productivity up, but John Deere will not give you any information to work on it. Actually, I don't think they want you to work on it. They might throw a lawsuit at you for working on your own.
Wow.
No, don't take. I don't know, but that may or may not happen. But there is a lawsuit against them. Last time I checked, maybe a couple of years ago, that was saying like, no, you can't withhold information from people that outright own their own property, these own vehicles, for them to work on it. And John Deere's kind of response was like, well, these are very sophisticated vehicles and programming, and if they tweak something and mess something, it can hurt and kill someone, and we don't want that lawsuit on our hands because they tampered with the automatics of it. So it's a weird fight.
There's this, I feel like, mantra that a lot of these car companies are taking from like this, the Apple way of things, right? Like, kind of the closed ecosystem. I mean, you look at Apple, you want to swap out a hard drive on a MacBook, you just have to buy a new MacBook. Like, there's no aftermarket. I know that right to repair is like a huge topic, in the tech community, and like the way that we're talking about cars. Oh, definitely,
I didn't know that. So, wow.
There's tons of repair shops and whatnot that they have to build their own, like the tools and like the screws and all the different types of fasteners, whatever it is, on these devices, even the internal circuits and whatnot. Everything becomes like they're making it incredibly proprietary. You can't buy the screwdriver to even open up this type of thing, right? And so and so then some repair guys will go and build their own system for cracking something open, or even if you open up one of the devices. I mean, in some manufacturers, if you open up the device, that's it. You're voiding the warranty, right? A lot of them. And so like, you want to go and just make a small repair or whatever it might be, or upgrade your phone, or your phone or your computer, and that company doesn't offer those upgrades. Like, you're kind of just like stuck. You're like stuck in this limbo point. Like, all right, I'm on like a 3-5 year whatever warranty on this device, and so I'm stuck with whatever it is, like exactly what you bought it for. And this would causes people to either say like, all right, I'm gonna buy a new one or not. But in the world of cars, I imagine that's a much more complex conversation. One, I mean, you're talking about something that costs like 10 times, 20 times the cost of a phone or a laptop.
Because it's like, an iPhone, I think, a normal one's probably still like $1,000. But I think with my phone, I'm on like like a lease program or whatever, and
Yeah.
so it's still a throwaway phone. It's like, well, my term's up, give me another one, and I'll pay for it while I play my plan. It's that.
Remember when
yeah.
they were like, the phones used to be like $600, and then
Yeah.
and then I don't know, the iPhone 10 came out, and then all of a sudden it's $1,000. Now all the phones are over $1,000.
It's all $1,000. It's ridiculous, but
Yeah.
still kind of in the cheap zone to throw away, where it's just like
Yeah.
because who's gonna buy an iPhone 10? Or I mean, did they make an iPhone 10? See, I don't even know. They make all these weird Max Pro 13 and Slim.
Like if I wanted to, like something happened, let's say I had electric vehicle, something happened with the I don't even know what to call it, the motor, the drivetrain, whatever. It's not drivetrain anymore.
It's a
right?
motor. It's the drivetrain would be just the motor,
Yeah. So something happened. I mean, I don't even know what it would even look like to repair that on your own. I mean, there's I know in the car community, and in the, I guess, mechanics and whatnot, like there's enough consistency around vehicles for you to be able to look at something and know how to work it open, right? And fix it. But yeah, when you're looking at a motor like that, I mean, what is it?
It's also very dangerous too, working on electric. You could fry up like a French fry. Any orange wire you just don't touch. It's like you can only do very little. But yeah, they want that, and that's where their defense is on the right to fix, right to repair. Well, look, this is very dangerous. We don't want a lawsuit on our hands. Well, I know, but there's a give and take, I guess. Granted, I don't want to see people burning up trying to work on their cars, but.
Well, so just in general, I don't know if you mentioned this, but you've how many cars? You just said you bought another car over here. How many cars you've had?
I think it's 26. So I don't keep my cars for long, even if they're old. Yeah, the newest car I have bought was a 2016 Fiesta ST. And that was I kept that for quite a while. I think it's 6 years, and I got my money back off it too, because that was during the point where new cars were ridiculously priced and people were buying used. So I bought it for 25, and I sold it for I didn't buy it for 25 sticker price. I got it down to 20. Bought it for 20, sold it for 16,000. So it's like in 6 years I lost 4,000. Like that's unheard of. So I was like, I'll sell it.
Yep. So now, what ratio of that 26 cars? How many of them were new that you bought new? So you had the Fiesta, right?
One.
But how many of those were new?
Just the
one,
Fiesta.
Right?
Yeah, it was just the
Fiesta.
Fiesta.
So, and do you think a lot of folks? I mean, new versus used. A lot of folks are buying new still or used, or like what's the what are people thinking I think when they're going out to this market?
So looking into the market, when I was looking to buy my parents a vehicle, we were thinking pre-owned, because it's like, all right, what's the next best thing? I still kind of wanted to get them something new, but the pre-owned used market, like people who will lease a car, then give it back, and then they'll try to sell that leased car. That's wild. Still, I was looking. You're talking. Maybe 3 or 4 year price difference, 3 or 4 year model difference. Mileage varies. It's not, maybe lucky to see 10 grand off of a new one in comparison. So they know, dealerships know, like this is going to be our bread and butter from now on, because our new inventory just isn't moving as well. So it's the normal person who's not really keen on bringing their car in for every little noise because it's older is going to say, like, well, this is my only option because I can't afford a new car. And then there are some people that are just like, I'll buy used, and whatever needs fixing, load up the parts cannon and just fire it at this thing because I need it to be reliable. I don't care how old it is. So that's why you're seeing these cars that are 12 and a half years old sitting on the road.
So that's what I'm wondering is, like, there's a whole new wave of vehicles coming out, and we were talking about like autonomous driving cars and all the new technology. Like, there's going to be a big like if there's people are keeping these cars for 12 years or whatever it is, right? There's going to be a big gap between when those cars are hitting the market and when people are actually purchasing them, right? And I know that we were seeing like these these rental agencies are wanting to sell off their electric vehicles. They're not going as much as they said. Like, so there's like a lapse here or a gap between when people are ready to adopt these cars, like financially or whatever their position is.
Well, are you talking about like EVs in general, like the
Yeah, just
hesitation to buy
EVs in
EVs?
general. Yeah, like there's all this technology and all this AI and all these driverless cars and whatnot. But
Well,
the reality, if people aren't in the market, like let's say someone just bought a car right now and they're going to hold it for 12 years, like that's 12 years away before that's getting really
I
adopted.
could definitely
by a new
weigh in
person.
on the lack of EV purchases now, and it's not so much the price point because people who buy EVs, I mean, look at the American market for EVs right now. They're all luxury based. Even Tesla, the Model 3 is still as kind of shoddy build quality as a lot of people say. It's still more of a luxury vehicle than say like a Honda Accord, right? It offers more. But so
It's got games.
yes, yeah. So the buyer segment, I guess buyer segment would be the right word. Buyer segment is going to be geared to people who have the money to buy it. They're not afraid to shell out money on a new vehicle. But I think the issue where the sales are getting a hit is they're just not performing as well as a gas vehicle or a diesel vehicle because Ford, perfect example, and I've driven a couple, and I do kind of like them, but the F-150 Lightnings, they had like maybe a 4-year run because they just weren't doing anywhere close to the amount of work a normal F-150 could do. The bad range, you tow on it, it gets worse. There's multiple channels out there that do like towing tests and stuff like that. Hoovie's Garage is one of them. He doesn't only do towing tests, but that was a joke. If you watch his video, he'll explain. They're not geared toward work. It's you buy a truck, you don't really buy a truck to just kind of putz around town in. I mean, people do, but if they're pushing this toward contractors, you see the commercials. They're like, hey, this is great for job site work, and it was really not great for job site work. So they're struggling on that. We're getting closer to getting the long range distance EV. Still not there yet. Anything too. I don't want to get too political, but anytime the government tries to push something, it never works. So the government tried pushing EVs. They wanted to get a greener environment or whatever their case was. They're giving all these incentives out and really pushing for it, and the market's not there yet. We're not there yet to adopt what they want to push out. So that's where that's falling back behind because people are trying EVs and they're like, well, no, I can't do my hour drive or I can't go across country or this and that and it'll take. I think when we did your bachelor party in New Orleans, I was like, oh, what if I were to take a Tesla? Autopilot. I don't have to worry about drive by myself. It took me stopping on a normal vehicle. The one I rented was like 10 hours, and with a Tesla probably would have been 16.
Yeah, I mean, just stopping, charging.
It's,
I mean, what's the is the market ready, or is like the technology ready for I know the Tesla Semi have those started to roll out?
Yeah, I think Pepsi has a contract with them, and they're not doing so hot, from what I hear.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're meeting supply
I haven't seen one on the road
based on what I've seen.
Yeah, I've seen more Cybertrucks than I've seen Tesla Semis, but from what I've been hearing, the ones that have, because I think Pepsi had the first contract of them, and they weren't doing so good. The range was really bad. And yeah, I haven't heard much from it since then.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. I know that recently. I mean, they're trying to add like basically like those e-transit like electric vehicles to Ford has, and I know they're trying to add these Tesla semis there. But it's they all have goals. A lot of these companies have goals to reach zero emissions, right?
Yeah.
By whatever year, and so it's the question of, I mean, it's when we look at semis, it's obvious this is business, right? Business operations, and now the question is like what's the lag here for consumers
on semi level?
Like well, no, not just no. Imagine people as consumers driving semis.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, that's ridiculous. But that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah. But like so you have all these companies that are looking to go in like the trucking industry, right? All right, hey, let's revitalize, let's change out our vehicles for electric and whatnot. But like what's the range on those? Even just in general,
for
like trying to
like an EV semi truck.
Yeah,
I really haven't heard anything. I think Volvo may be coming up with something, but I don't know. To
I think
be honest.
I think it goes 500 miles. I think the Tesla
That's what
Semi.
they said.
Yeah, it's 500 miles on a single charge. Which I mean, yeah, New York to California, you have to charge it up like
It's
five
not
times.
good. You took a lot of these like hot shot, truckings or like they drive a long time, and like you'll see semis maybe built in a 10-year span with over 1,000,000 miles. That's normal to see on a truck because they just keep running. That's all they do.
Mm-hmm.
So you see millions of miles on trucks, and for them to stop and charge, probably a very long charge now considering the battery is huge, is not good for them because they get paid by the mile, and that's going to be more time they get this away from home because that hour adds up, and
what's the? I mean, there's got to be a technological solution for all I know. They were talking about like, hey, do we put solar onto these vehicles? They charge while they're moving, but that's not going to be fast.
Solar
enough.
has always been a very slow charge. It's almost like a trickle charge, yeah.
Yeah, like are they going to be hot swapping like batteries or something?
Which
like
can be
that?
dangerous. It's just let's cross these wires while we're turning this massive battery out, and boom, there goes everything.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the solution is for all of this, or maybe it's with the AI that could plan a smarter route for so it aligns with the charges or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, long range vehicles. Just the time that it takes to charge these superchargers, you can get to like 30 minutes or something like that, right?
Yeah. See, that's the thing I'm thinking of too. Is what was it? I was going to say so we're really pushing. Us as a society, governments around the world, they want EVs just because, well, they don't know the production value of an EV, the carbon footprint production. Like, if you look into it, it's easy to see, like, it's terrible for the environment to produce an EV. Tailpipe emissions don't exist, sure, but you're sacrificing on the back end. Regardless of that, they're pushing without having the infrastructure for EVs and the type of work an EV can do. They're not taking that into consideration. They just want it out so they can look good.
Well, we talk about the work, man. Mm-hmm. Like it's, I mean, this is where the whole question. You and I were talking about AI, and what I mean, the workforce. I mean, the number of folks that are even, I know that you're trained to be a technician, but like, how many folks are actually picking up trades nowadays? And there's a lot of time being spent in like knowledge skilled workers, right? Folks going and learning. I mean, listen, I'm an engineer myself, right? Mm-hmm. And a software engineer, and so but you're having this, having AI continue to. I mean, this is, everyone always says, oh, AI, it's not. Have you seen what they're putting out? It doesn't look good, whatever. I'm like, this is the worst that it'll ever be.
Yeah,
and it'll only be better. I mean, I don't know if you saw that OpenAI is like they had that video of Will Smith eating spaghetti like from 8 months ago or 9 months ago.
Yeah, I remember
and
now, a year ago AI couldn't like make a face. It was all mush.
Yep.
And now you can you have to be like, oh, is that AI generated or is that a real person? It's terrifying. They got the fingers down. They never got the fingers down before.
Well, OpenAI just unveiled the 4.0, and like it's a full-on talking assistant. You're like, it's a tutor for people. Goodness. Like you could just link it up, it'll screen share, and
terrifying.
You can just draw on a paper. Yeah, I mean
we're gonna have
there's a lot of opportunity.
Soon. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, what?
So we're gonna have podcasts with AI soon.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a ton of opportunity, but I think that people are like that. What's lacking here, and what we're gonna need a lot more assistance on, and more focus on, I think, going towards the future, is really like working in trades. I mean, like there's at the end of the day, like I'm wondering if all these jobs, a lot of these knowledge-based jobs, are going to end up getting replaced, by AI or automated by AI or whatever, sort of augmented by AI, and those jobs are going to start to go away. Right. I mean, I can imagine AI CEOs within the next 5 years, becoming. And Matt, you have something that's able to make a decision without any behavioral or anything like that.
Without any emotion. Yeah. No emotion. Yeah,
exactly. It's just pure. I mean, it makes it a lot easier.
It's terrifying because
to clarify those decisions. So now, if no one's doing that, then all right, what is everyone going to be doing now? All right, we're going to need electricians and plumbers.
We're going to be fat and lazy, living at home, ordering out Uber Eats, and just being debaucherous, I guess. I don't know. Like,
well, where are we gonna get the money for the Uber Eats? Is the question.
It's gonna be like the Terminator and Matrix combined. We're gonna be in pods, and they're gonna be using our like blood to live or something like that. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, like, yeah, well, it's what's
the like there. I mean, there's a lot of talk about there's going to be new jobs created, and I'm wondering.
Where?
What will be those new jobs?
Where?
Like, yeah, where and what? Because what jobs that like once AI and once robotics gets to a certain level, there's going to be very few things that can't be automated, at scale from these technologies. And so there's actually an episode of South Park I know was out recently where they nobody knows how to fix anything anymore.
I've seen a couple of bits of those episodes.
Yeah.
And like the plumber is like this like baller and
yeah. They're paying millions of dollars to like handymen and plumbers and stuff like that because no one knows how to do anything anymore.
I mean, my video I made recently just talks about. I know it talks about more of the automotive side of things, but nobody wants to do manual labor anymore. And I think it's a mix of like the stuff we're working on is getting more intense to work on. And like just managerial being buttholes, I guess. I guess to say it in a nice way, because I've worked on many jobs and from like many fleets to dealerships, and like they think that workers are like it's just disposable, which I don't know why you'd think that with such a terrible market around. Like nobody's hired, and the job market's terrible. Nobody's getting hired. Nobody wants to work, but combined with that, like. I don't know. Like
it's tough because like it's what I'm wondering. There's all these different conversations around like what's our real like unemployment rate look like right now, because there's a lot of people that just aren't looking for work.
No,
like they're just not looking at all, or people that they're not unemployed but they're technically not fully employed. They're doing gig work and stuff like that. So it's not. I think that there is when all these things, all these knowledge-based jobs start getting automated, you start automating sales teams, you start automating developers. I mean, coders are definitely with the next couple of years, software engineers are going to be. I mean, it's not. I don't think there's going to be an easier one to automate because there's so much code out there on the internet for all these systems to just learn. I mean, I saw literally OpenAI. I mean, ChatGPT 4.0. You just highlight a section of code and you say, what is this? What am I trying to do here? You just highlight. It could be hundreds of lines. It'll tell you in like a second.
It's going to build itself. This is Skynet. This is terrifying.
I mean, it's because I think that it's like for me, my mentality towards AI is like cautious optimism, right?
Yes, I'm
I believe that AI is going to do amazing things for healthcare. We're going to solve a lot of diseases. It's going to be able to test things out that we just don't have the physical amount of time to test out, right?
Yes.
And there's tons of work that's happening through all that. And there's an element here also where it's going to make it easier for people that are. I mean, I know there's a lot of like AI scams, AI hacking, everything that's going out. People getting phone calls, saying like it's a loved one.
Yeah.
And it's like some ransom, whatever it is. So you think about all this and like how it ties into. Just like in this automotive space, like there's a big push forward, right? Mm-hmm. Push forward within AI. A lot of these cars coming out doing driverless. I mean, you think about the show, like the ride sharing, taxi, industry and all that. Like how this fits in, how these vehicles fit into that landscape. And I think that there's a speed by which it's impossible to stop AI. It's going to keep going. Like there's the genie's out of the bottle. It's going to keep progressing. It's just a matter of are we at the speed and like is society at the speed to like keep up with it,
Yeah.
And that's what I was wondering.
I think my fear is it going to take control of us as where we become too lazy to just do the simplest of tasks. We had great thinkers in the past. I know this is tangenting off the channel, I know, but we've had great philosophers, we've had great minds in the past that we look forward to and who would solve tons of problems, not efficiently as fast as AI, but are we going to become stupider by this tool that is very? I mean, look at us. Everyone has a phone, everyone is on it, and I think collectively it has made us stupider, just being on it all the time.
I think it's just the phones themselves. I mean, it's the distractions of it all. And I think this ties really back to the car is that, when we're operating this vehicle and why we're purchasing vehicles are less about, the usage of it. Like people are like, oh, I like a Tesla because I could play games and watch
Yeah,
Netflix on it. It's like it's the
it's
distractions
a
of it
computer on
all.
wheels.
Like they're talking about heads-up displays and whatnot, like within the vehicle. Like it's or like that, you can go and just fall asleep, right? And then the car will drive itself. And so it's I don't know. I'm wondering how all of these things gel with just the progression of us, right?
It, yeah, I think it could be a very beneficial tool. Like our phone can be a very beneficial tool, but my fear is abuse. And as a society, I don't think we've proven to ourselves that we can utilize these tools for good. Or just more of a sense of we're using this as a crutch to become lazy. Like, oh, like let the car drive itself. I don't have to really care, look around me in case anybody's gonna crash into me. The car can do that, right? Or let me just doom scroll for like 15 hours, or let's whatever the case is. It's I am cautious. I'm optimistic but cautious. Just perfectly how you said it.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think that at the end of the day, the environment for us to adopt this AI and to adopt these autonomous vehicles and EV and all that kind of stuff, it's not going to just make itself, right? This is going to take. I mean, it's going to take a big education for everyone, right?
Yeah.
To understand, like, I mean, it's just industries to catch up, people to understand, like what it is that I'm looking for when I'm buying a car, right? Nowadays, I mean, there's a lot of flashy stuff going on, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's a lot of new knowledge.
Yeah.
That's going to need to be taught to everyone.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all possible, but it just takes conscious work. Work.
No, I agree. And kind of pacing it back a little bit to I was going to say electric vehicles and EV and well, I think right now if you were to buy something that just has perfect like you want an EV but you want to actually put it to use, I think people are sleeping. Hybrids are like the technology in hybrids are amazing right now. Nobody really talks about it. Like they've become so reliable. 40, 50, 60 miles a gallon on like a Honda CRV. Like that's a usable vehicle. You're not you could just you don't have to plug it in every night. You gas it up, and it's a small tank. You're not killing yourself at the gas pump, and you get that combined range. If you're going to look for something that's going to save money, I would 100% go for a hybrid. Do your research, of course. There's still some bad hybrids out there, but while we're waiting for EVs to step their game up and so become useful, like nationwide useful, like that scale we were talking about, look into an EV. I think if you're not wanting gas, that's a good route to go. But be careful of Chinese EVs. We're not getting them here in the States, but I've heard stories about was it BYD? You ever heard of BYD? Build your dreams is what they're called.
Interesting. Yeah.
They are actually the world's biggest electric vehicle producer, more than Tesla.
I'd imagine, yeah, in China. I mean, like, tons of vehicles pushing out. But I know that there's a lot of tariffs and whatnot, right?
Yeah,
started imposing on them.
Biden did a little flex. He said, yeah, no, we're gonna ridiculous tariff sanctions on tariffs on the Chinese electric vehicles going to the market, where it's just like, well, they all said they don't want to come here, and as of now, their vehicles cannot meet standards for American roads. So, yeah, it was a flex, but kind of a useless flex. I do know globally, like Mexico, South America uses them. Even Japan, they've infiltrated Japan. But the reason why they're so popular is you take, say, the Model 3, which is the entry-level Tesla. It's around, I think, 35 to 40,000 for just a base model. The equivalent of a BYD is 16,000.
Wow.
And it's, I think, the same range. It's like, yeah, if you're just a person looking to, I want an electric vehicle. This fits my thing. Yeah, you're gonna go with the BYD. But I've also heard of just quality issues, just really bad quality issues, and China does not like to be talked bad about, so they try to cover these articles up. But there's been fires like you wouldn't believe, and lithium ion is a strong metal battery type deal, and it hates water. Like, you drop water on it and it just gets worse. The fire gets worse. It'll spark, it'll explode. So with these electric vehicles, the hazard with them is if they get, you can't put them out. So, like, fire departments will get there, they'll see an electric vehicle on fire, they'll say, everybody move out, it has to burn out. Nothing can put it out. Yeah, look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of videos of lithium-ion batteries, not even electrical vehicles, on like tools just going out, and people just get out of the way. There's nothing you can do.
I mean, it's just a new frontier. I mean, it's still like, I know the EVs have been, or at least the topic of them, and just the EVs in general have been around for like, at least they're starting to mature a bit, but it's still like still very new ground that's been broken in on, right? And so a lot to, I mean, like, one, it's new from a consumer sentiment perspective of like, hey, is this something that I want? But
yeah. I think we're treating it like the tech bubble in the way where, like, our technology in 10 years is like ridiculously surpassed what we would thought, and the technology has met the vehicle, and we're like, oh, so it should be on par. Like, an electric vehicle from 10 years ago is nothing like an electric vehicle now. It's going to be like the range on a 10-year-old electric vehicle, say 200, it should be 800 now, and it's not meeting that spec because it's not the technology per se of the digital technology. It's how the physical technology. Like, we're fighting physics here, And I think that's where we're lacking, and people think like, oh, we should be there. It's like, well, no, it's some things work faster than others, so we just got to give the EV some time.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, there's, looking at how quickly AI has ramped up. I mean, really, it's gone from a topic that's like, oh yeah, one day AI will be thinking about it. Within the past, few years, 5 years, less, it's gone to like, oh, all right, well, everything is going to be completely different now. Well, a reality. I mean, who knows? Who knows if they've achieved AGI, the artificial general intelligence, basically like an AI that can do most general tasks, right? That could be applicable to a lot of so like, it could have been achieved by now. We don't know. We don't know what the inner workings of OpenAI and Google and whatnot are. But like, if that does get achieved, then I'm imagining, I mean, how AI is not just being applied to the front end of cars, like into the autonomous vehicles, but also into the back end, into the factories, into much of these things that are being automated. I mean, workforce, labor, all this is going to be drastically changed. The prices of I mean, I hope that this equals prices of cars going down, affordability, right, of these things.
You'd hope it for the benefit, yeah.
Yeah, you'd hope, yeah.
Well, I think this was an amazing first podcast. I really enjoyed getting the perspective of someone that's not in the inner workings of a car guy like me, and just seeing the consumer market and the global market. Any closing thoughts? Anything you wanted to add?
No, this was a really fun chat. Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of really incredible news coming out, based on a lot of the topics that we talked in this conversation. And so there's going to be no shortage of things to chat about in the automotive industry. It's really bubbling and blossoming, and I appreciate you having me along for the conversation.
No problem. The pleasure is all mine. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Boryk, my lifelong friend and such an amazing person to have on this show. Thank you all for listening too for my first podcast. This was an absolute treat, and I hope we can continue to keep it going with more guests, or even just going solo off maybe a crazy news article. We'll see where this goes, but thank you all for tuning, and see you next time.